Hey, welcome back. In this tutorial, we are going to start working on our player HUD. I thought about maybe doing boost first and maybe some of the other functionality in our player, but for the boost, which is what I was planning on doing next, we would need some sort of a graphic representation of what was happening. And kind of the same thing with the health. So in the HUD, we would see the health go down, we would see the boost go down, and then when we see the boost go back up or the health go back up, we would kind of need to see that. There are other ways to do that. There's a print string function, which I am going to cover as well when we work on those. But I also think having our HUD set up so that we can start feeding things into our HUD will be a natural progression from going from one to the next. Sometimes, we wait until the end and we put the HUD in there and we get all the design in it. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and jump in, make the HUD, and then feed into it as we start to add in the additional player capabilities, because the HUD is also part of the player. So let's go ahead and jump into that. All right, so here we are. Again, if you can open up your project, if you already have it open. I do have my player open. We're not going to use it at this point in time. Well, we will actually go ahead and open it, because we will. If it's already open, just leave it open. We are going to go ahead and have to call and make a reference to the HUD and bring it into life when we first start the game. So leave that open. But from here, we're going to go down to the content drawer. I'm going to make a new folder. We're going to right click, new folder, and I'm just going to call this a UI. And then because previously I was practicing and mine automatically turned yellow. So yes, you can add a color to it. You can also choose not to. I created a new color and I made this UI folder yellow. Okay. Now, I'm going to double click and go into it. I'm going to right click, and we're going to need a user interface. So this is the user interface, which is why the folder is named UI for a user interface. And we want the second one from the bottom, widget blueprint. We're going to go ahead and right here click user widget. And we're going to call this WBP, so widget blueprint underscore. And I'm going to call this HUD, HUD. Nice and simple. Now, if we double click on it, it should open up, and I'm going to save it real quick. This is a kind of a blank slate. We don't have anything in it yet. Over here are some of the categories that we normally use, and the common one may be down on yours, it may not, but this is the one that we typically use for a lot of the different things that we need here. Down here is our hierarchy. This is the top level, so the main parent is the WB HUD, so this is the blueprint level. And what we're going to do is up here in search palette, we're going to type in canvas, because we need something to be able to put everything on, and that's this canvas panel. We click and drag and drop it down here, and that gives us this screen here. Yours may not come in like that, but you can zoom in and out with the middle mouse button just like this. But we're going to leave it so we can kind of see the outline. So the very first thing we're going to do for this HUD to make sure that it's working and we got some feedback into it and learning kind of a little bit about a HUD is we're going to reference our level name. And for my HUD, if you'd seen it in the demo, over here on the left hand side is my health. Down here is boost. Over here are my collectibles, so the coins I have collected and the ones I have remaining for the level. And then right here in the center was where I had the name. So let's go ahead and do that first. I'm going to compile it real quick just in case and hit save. Now, right up here where I have canvas typed, if I hit the down arrow, I can find it right here. It's text, but you can also search everything right here in the palette, just like we did with the canvas. We can do it from here too, but this is the one we're going to get, and I can either drag it and drop it into the world here, or I can drop it on my canvas panel. If I drop it on my panel, it'll show up right there. I'm going to drop it here kind of in the center, because this is where I want it anyway. And when I do that, you'll notice I get this green box. It'll say text block in the middle. This is scalable. I can make this bigger or smaller, but right now it's just the box that's changing, not the text. This flower over here on the left hand side is actually an anchor. With the box selected over here, you'll see I'll have all these details, right? And for mine, the name of it is up here on the top. So if you look over here, it just says text block, right? We can change the name of that by highlighting it, and I'm just going to call this level name. And you'll notice over here, it now says level name here in the parentheses. So that's the name of this particular item. But in the center, since it's text, it just says text block, which is what it says here. So let's talk about anchors, and then we'll get back to the text block there in a second. The anchor, this flower, can be controlled over here. Now yours is probably, maybe looks like this, right? I hit the down arrow and we can see where everything's anchored. Right now everything's 0, 0, 0, 0 because the anchor is all the way here to the left and the top. So if I hit the down arrow, I have all these different choices of where I can anchor it. I want to anchor it right up here in the middle. And when I do that, see it changes the X and Y over here to 0.5 and 0.5, so halfway across. If I hover over it, you can see there's the middle point, right? So if I take this text block and drag it over somewhere around there, I can get that middle section of the text block to line up with that. Now, I don't want this to be called text block. I want this to be called level name. And it doesn't really matter too much because this is just sort of a placeholder. If we were to look at this in the, if we were able to bring this up the way it is right now, it would just say level name across here. There wouldn't be anything else in here because we haven't called any information. Whatever we end up calling is what's going to be put into here. So since our level is named sandbox, we want it to say sandbox in here when we have that level open. So we're going to go through the process of making that happen. A couple of other things to think about before we get there, though, is the font type, font color. Right now it's white. If you click here, you can move it around, change the color. I'm going to leave mine white for right now. We can set it so that there's a minimum desired width for the text, but we can also do that with the box. The font family is Roboto. If you hit the down arrow, we don't have a lot of choices for a font. We're going to go out here in just a second to a website and find some free fonts, and we'll go through that process. It's bold. Right now the size is 32, so if I hover over 32 and left mouse click and drag it with my double arrow, you can see I can change the size of it. So I am going to put it so it kind of fills the box for right now. And the other thing I want to point out is when we move this box around, these positions, the X and the Y position, as well as the size position, will all change. So the size of the box will change when we scale this bigger or smaller. And when we move this around, it changes that, okay? So we'll come back and fine tune all that once we sort of get a feel for what we're doing. The biggest reason is because the type of font that we're going to use is going to sort of dictate how we want this to be set up. In my demo, I used one called Ninja Penguin, and I'm going to go out and show you where I found that. Plenty of other free fonts. You don't have to fall on that one if you don't want to. All right, there's also justification. So right now it's left justified. We're going to center justify it. And a lot of these other things that are in here, since this is a text box, have to do with the way the text appears in here. Now, you can play around with all these. I'm not going to go through all of it, obviously, but you can play around with it until you get just the right look that you want. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. And if you know anything about setting up fonts in things like Photoshop or, you know, PowerPoint or whatever it is your specialty is, GIMP or whatever, I'm sure you know a lot about this. You can get this set up. Okay, so let's go out real quick and first get the project set up so that we actually can pull in the name that we want, right? So right here it says level name. Over here there's this kind of chain looking thing that's broken. If we click on that, we're going to create a binding. And what it's going to be is it's going to say get level name text. It's kind of a long name, not really what I want it to be. I'm going to click over here on the left hand side under where it says functions. Right here there's that function. This is what this is, a function. And I'm just going to type in get level name, make it simple. Now, the location of this function is here in the event graph. And if we take a look up here at the top, we have designer. This is where we were. This is where we're designing our widget. Over here is the graph. This is where we actually set up the program name. A couple things to point out here. This is the function name. This is where the function begins at. Then we're going to have a return of what we're trying to get. So in this function, we're going to go out and get the name of the level. Fortunately, Unreal Engine already has some of this done for us. All we need to do is type in get current level name. So if we scroll all the way down here under game, it says get current level name. That's what we want right there. And we're going to plug this in right there. And we're going to plug this one in right there. Now, we can grab this and we drag it over, and it's going to want it to convert it. And that's what we want it to do. And it automatically says, hey, we need to take a string into a text. Okay. So in the game, it comes up as a string for the name, but we want to be able to see it and view it in our text box. So we're converting it to a text. Make sure I got that straight. Okay, so we're going to save this. And now let's go in and call it up in our player so that we can see what it looks like. And then we'll go out and we'll find a font and make it look much better. So up here under BP Player, we're going to go there. And then inside of BP Player, we already have the node that we want to use at the beginning of the play. So when we start this level, we're going to go out and we're going to create a widget. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to type in create widget. And it looks like this. Now, we also have an option for a class in here. So we can just go ahead and plug this in. We'll do that real quick before I forget. And then for the class, if we hit the down arrow, we called ours WBP underscore. And right now we only have one to choose from, HUD. So there's our HUD right there, WP BP HUD. The owning player. So what we need to do is we're going to get player controller because we need to tell it where this HUD is supposed to be created. And we're going to attach it to the player controller. So we need to tell it this is where it's going to go. So we actually have to put something in here. If we didn't have something in here, we would get an error. Now, I don't know if we're going to end up using it, but I'm going to show this real quick because it's nice and easy. And if we do it right now, we don't have to come back and move some things around to make it happen. We can take this and we can actually make this into a variable. So right here, if we hover over return value, we can right click on it. We can promote this to a variable. That's a pretty cool thing to be able to do when we need to. And we're going to call this WBP underscore HUD. So now we have a variable that we can pull out later on instead of having to do a casting, because this is what we're really doing is we're casting to this right here. We're creating this HUD, and then so we're getting it, and now what we're going to do is we're going to add it to our viewport. So we have to be able to see it, right? So nothing will happen if we don't do this. So we're going to add to, and we're going to add it to our viewport, so where our player is looking. And then what are we going to add? We're going to add this. Okay, we could have just gone straight from here to this without creating this variable, but we may come up with a need for this later on somewhere else in the blueprint. Right now, it's just not a bad time to do it. We may not use it. We could always come back in, change this, get rid of it, but it's not going to really hurt anything either. All right, so we're going to comment this. We're going to call this set player start conditions. And the reason is because we're going to come back and we're going to add some other things to this as we go along. And I'm going to make this a different color so I can find it. I'm just going to make it blue. Nice bright blue. All right, so there we have it. We've got that ready to go. And let's compile it. Let's go into our sandbox and hit play and see if it works. It did, right up here, sandbox. And this is typed in exactly as how it is up here in my level name. So that's exactly what I have here. It's the font and the font type that is in my HUD, in my designer, right here. It's a Roboto, but there it is. All right, so let's go back and stop this. We're going to go ahead and save it. So let's do the next thing. Let's go find some fonts, something that's a little bit more fun than what we have right now. So if we open up our browser, there we go. I've actually downloaded what I've been using from this site right here. It's 1001fonts.com, www.1001fonts.com. Hopefully, if you're at a school or some other institution that controls your internet, this is not blocked. If it is blocked, then you're going to need to get with somebody at your school or at your institution that you're at to get it unblocked or to find a different site that allows you to get free fonts. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with Roboto and those other two fonts for the rest of your game. But just know you can actually go out and change it if you wanted to. Now, like I said, I used this one called Ninja Penguin. And I typed that up in here in this search. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to instead just type in Ninja, because I want to show you a couple things here about this site and talk about use, okay? Now, whenever we get things off the internet, we have to be aware that someone else created it. Someone else owns it or has the rights to it because you didn't create it. It's out there. Just because it's free doesn't mean you get to use it however you want, typically. Sometimes you do. Now, over here on the right-hand side, if we take a look at these little tags here and hover over it, this one is for personal use only. So this Ninja Turtles is for personal use only. So if you were to use it, you could use it personally, but you couldn't sell your item or, you know, put it out there for somebody else to use. You're not allowed to do that. But if we go down to Ninja Penguin, which is down here, you'll see it has a green tag. If I hover over that, this one is free for commercial use, so you could download this. And if you made this game and you wanted to use this font for that game, you could do that. Now, I'm just telling you this so that you're aware that even with fonts, just because they're out there, they're free, and you can download a lot of them, double check to see what requirements there are. So in order to get this, and I would suggest perusing through, finding something that you like. There's tons and tons of stuff. A lot of it is free for commercial. But again, since this is going to be your personal game and you're just using it to learn, using any of these other fonts with the red tags is fine too. As long as it's free, you don't have to pay for it. You might as well play around with it. So I'm going to use this one again because I kind of like the way it looked for my game. I'm going to hit download, and then it puts it into downloads. And what you're going to do is you're going to have to unzip it. So see, I have this folder right here. So if I go to my folder, and yes, I still haven't cleaned this up, and I'm going to right click on it. You can extract all, or if you have 7-zip, you can also use 7-zip to extract it. I'm just going to go ahead and do the extract all. It should work just fine. You're going to have to tell it where you want it to go. Right now, it's just going to extract it into my downloads. I actually have a folder that I put on my computer. Let's see here. And F actually comes before all that. There it is, fonts. And right here is where I put it. Created a folder, and I unzipped it and put it into there. And so I'm going to hit cancel because I already have it done. That's the process, all right? So once you find a font that you like, it's pretty simple to put it in to your folders. So let me go in and find it real quick. Once you've downloaded it and you've unzipped it, there's a little README typically with them, and the little README will tell you things like, you know, how you can use it, something about the creator sometimes, and then, you know, Creative Commons again. Sometimes we're going to want you to give credit to where credit is due. All right, and then here is the actual font, okay? And we want, this is a true type font, so this is what we're going to use for this. It'll work. Some fonts will not work, but most of the ones I run across lately do. So again, I'm going to come back into my content folder. I'm going to right-click, create a new folder. I'm going to call this fonts. We're not going to use it a lot, so I'm not going to bother color coding it. And I'm going to drag and drop that into it. It says, would you like to create a new font asset using the imported font face? Well, yes, I would. All right, and then that's what we've got here. So now I'm going to save everything, go back to my HUD, and if I hit the down arrow now, my Ninja font should show up in there. So I'm going to select that font. When I do that, you see how it kind of scaled everything down a little bit? That's how I knew that I was going to have to come back and play around with how this is going to look in my game. For mine, my font size is actually 100 to make it a little bit bigger. And it doesn't matter that I made it all one word like that. It's going to actually change. Again, I centered it. You can kind of play around with these numbers right here to get it exactly to where you want it to go here in the middle. For me, I think I'm going to need to go over just a little bit to center it. Let's see. Oh, that was the wrong one. Of course. Oh, actually. Oh, you know what? It's supposed to be negative. There we go. So I already had some of these numbers written down and just totally messed myself up. All right, and then position Y, you can play around with that again. You can also hover over it, and you can kind of left mouse click and zoom back and forth, and you can move it up and down until you get it exactly where you want. You can do the same with this here until you get it centered how you want it. And again, all the different font stuff you can do. All right, so let's save it. Let's go back and hit play. Now see what I got. So there is my level name. Okay, so that's going to be it for this tutorial. Really just kind of wanted to get our HUD started so that we have some place to start parking some of the other things that we're going to do for the health and for the boost and for the pickups and anything else that we might end up putting on our HUD. Okay, so again, thanks for watching. If you have any issues or problems, please put it down in the comments. Let me know what happened. I'll get back to you. And if you like this video, please make sure to like it. And again, subscribe to my channel so that you can keep up and be ready for the next thing that comes out. I'll see you next time.